All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Douglas Delson, principal here at Wooten, and thank you very much for joining us for the March Coffee Chat. If this is your first time joining us, or perhaps you've come back for more than one of these, just a little note about how the structure works for our time this morning. There's always an opportunity before a coffee chat for individuals to submit questions in advance. We do have one question that was submitted in advance, so that will be the question that we address first. I'll go ahead and share that to the group and offer up a response, and then we will move to the open forum. And if there are any questions, you are certainly welcome to hop off mute and just ask that question directly or place your question in the chat, and we'll give some time for questions to be asked this morning. For those questions that are asked openly this morning, I will do my very best to answer them and try to tell you what I know about a specific topic, or if there is something that I cannot address, I will try to figure out a way to get you that answer. So I am not always able to answer everything, but I will do my very best. And if we need to connect outside this forum, we certainly can do that. So that is how things work for our principal coffee chat. Just a little expression of my appreciation. We needed to adjust time this morning for a training that I was scheduled to attend. So I thank everyone that was able to kind of move the start time up early to 8 a.m. this morning. And we just need to do that for the March coffee chat. We'll go ahead and get started with question number one in just a moment, but I wanted to share a couple of things that are happening as we move into spring break. So this was a very busy week at Wooten. Our SGA puts together a spring project annually at the school, and every day they had special events all around a theme that were planned. And it was nice to see the students in the commons, outside on certain parts of the campus, improving the grounds. They did many wonderful activities all throughout the week. Had an opportunity to play a really good game of Family Feud yesterday with students, one of my personal favorites. So we had a great time, and it's going to culminate with the final activity, which is we are on a pep rally schedule today, and the students are going to participate in a color run before they depart and begin their weekend. A little note about next week. We have a big day on Wednesday, which is March 20th. That is going to be the implementation of the SAT. And so we are on an alternate schedule. There are going to be details that are shared with you in this week's community update. Students that are participating in the SAT, they received assigned locations according to their student ID. And so the information is starting to flow out for SAT next week. And then following that testing experience, there will also be the student staff basketball game and just an open wellness fun day in the afternoon for students to come down, watch the staff play the students and enjoy themselves. And then we're preparing for spring break. So we're about there. I just wanted to say to everybody on the principal chat this morning, I hope you enjoy a wonderful spring break. I hope it is a time to relax and rejuvenate. I hope that there are wonderful trips planned, and I can't wait to hear where some of our students have gone. But even if your spring break is just getting a little housework done or relaxing, I hope that it is fun and that you enjoy it, because we'll come back and then we're going to continue. We're going to have the big finish for the end of the school year. So there is a question that just popped in about SAT. So from Allie, can 10th graders do the Wednesday SAT? Did they need to sign up? Very likely, Allie. I actually cannot get you the specific detail on that. Mr. Roner can. But what I imagine is that there is a detail in the information. Basically, there's a Google Doc that has kind of all you need to know that is available. And so there's likely some information when it comes to that. Question about attendance optional on Wednesday. If you are assigned to take the SAT and you have a reason to come to Wooten, then I'm going to strongly encourage that you don't see it as an optional day if there's something you need to do that day. Students, though, let's say seniors, that you're not taking the SAT, we are not taking a period by period attendance. However, the school is open for students, and there will be a place for them to go, catch up with assignments. It will be supported by staff. So if your child is coming to school, they are certainly welcome to come here. They're going to go to more of a study hall experience throughout the day, but we are not taking a period by period attendance that day. All good questions to get us started. Okay. Let's go ahead and dive right into question number one that was submitted in advance. And this one is so very situational to this period in time. Here we go. On April 8th, there's going to be a solar eclipse. Very true. Some families may take their students to other areas to watch that full solar eclipse. Do you think on that day that teachers do not teach new information nor assign homework? And this is an extremely rare opportunity to watch it. Otherwise, the students need to wait another 50 years to see that solar eclipse. Very true. What I can tell is, what I know is that we have not looked specifically at that date. So this falls in the category of one of those that I can carry forward and bring back to the team. Specifically, when Wooten makes the determination that we know we have a no new information, no homework day, that goes through the instructional leadership team, our ILT. We looked at a number of dates across the school year early on so that we kind of had a picture of the school year, but I don't think anyone kind of saw the eclipse coming. So this one, I can certainly take it back. I don't know what determination would be made, but I am willing to at least take a look at that one and see if ILT is willing to put out some guidance in regards to that. Okay. So thank you for raising it. We'll take a look at the solar eclipse. Regardless, it's a 50-year event. So I'm going to just share as an educator. I think that's an important one. And if you have a plan, I think you should go see the solar eclipse and we're going to make it work. And I think it's a once in a lifetime opportunity almost. I'm not a scientist, I'm sorry, but I know that it doesn't happen that often. So please make the best decision for yourself. And if you want to go see the eclipse, you should definitely go do that. Okay, it's going to take a look at the chat and see what we have in there. So hypothetically, what if one of your kids regularly is marked tardy for school? Are there any school-related consequences? Asking for a friend. Love the setup for this one. So yes, we sometimes do have students who are consistently tardy. What will happen is it is simply marked as tardy, and there's specific guidance for teachers about at what point in time, like how many minutes is it a tardy and at how many minutes is it an absence. So it is something you have to pay attention to because there is a delineation in which a student may go past that tardy mark and they may move into being marked absent. And I think that's just something important for you all to know. Is there a specific consequence? A teacher could assign a consequence if they choose to do so. There is no follow-up from, for example, my desk. Unlike absences, if a student goes past a number of unexcused absences, there's a letter issued. It eventually is going to be looked at by the student well-being team. So absences are a different thing. There is follow-up and intervention for sure. Tardies, less than there would be for absences. So Ali, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thanks.
So here's a question online. Any follow-up on getting absent form online? No, I have not heard an update on that one, Mr. Shapiro, and I will follow up on that one again. So without sharing too much, I do remember this one from the last one. We've had some absences, so it's been a little bit of a time period for that specific office. So I will go ahead and follow up and see what we can do. But I do remember carrying that one forward, and I'll follow up again. Okay, are there any other questions? If you would like to come off mute, share a question aloud, you may place it in the chat as well.
Is there anything new for graduation or anything that we should know, like as senior parents?
I can give a little update there. I don't know if it's new information so much, but there certainly has been some work that has happened since the last time we were together for seniors. Just a little note for parents. We are preparing for the annual meetings with parents and families of graduating seniors. That's important just to really have the flow of information of all that is going to come out in regards to graduation. That begins next week. So there is the virtual meeting taking place on the 20th in the morning. I'll be there, graduation coordinator, Ms. Rice, and we're going to present a lot of this information I think is at the heart of your question specifically. Some things that have taken place. Splanning has gotten together for their full planning day, which is where they really take a look. That is where work is being done on placing seats around DAR, making sure that we know like bus times for when the buses will depart from Wootton with staff and to move down to DAR. There's just a lot of logistics planning that happens on that day. It also includes Patriot ambassadors, which are a big part of making sure everything kind of moves and runs smoothly when we are off site and down in DC. So the planning day took place. It was successful. They got through much of what they needed to do, all the way to like taking all the tickets that have been printed and getting the tickets in order. Like that's all in a box and ready to go for when ticket distribution starts to take place. So that update, things are kind of moving along. The second one is it was yesterday. I met students again, Patriot ambassadors, planning, and then those that are coordinating down at DAR for our walkthrough. So working with that group, they are always so accommodating. They meet with us just so we can take a look at how everything moves on the morning of graduation. And it really is an opportunity for us to fine tune. And so we did our walkthrough, kind of made some moves based on last year. So we have, a graduation that stays right within that 2-hour window. It was, again, a successful experience. So those things are taking place behind the scenes. But really the big announcement at this point in time is the flow of information specifically to graduation. We'll have virtual and in-person meetings. They are going to be recorded for parents so that you have access to them over time. You cannot make a virtual morning meeting, for example, but really pay attention to that. That will get you details that you need to know. I got a question about plans for spring break. Helen, thank you very much for asking. So I'm going to go see some dear friends up on Long Island. I'm going to go see my family in Pennsylvania. The truth is, very fortunately, and this is a good way to get some of this information out, I have a really wonderful trip planned for when I return from spring break. That includes my family, and I will get a little time in Italy coming up. So very lucky and fortunate. Can't wait to see that, going to Milan. So I hope, Helen, you also have really good plans for spring break and something super exciting. Yeah, thank you for the question about the graduation Zoom information. It's got to be forthcoming. It's got to be today. I imagine it will likely be repeated in the community update. A little note about that. Just this week, we were trying to determine, and I'm sorry, it is kind of coming right up against the actual virtual meeting date. We were having a conversation just this week about whether we needed to request permission to hold a webinar. And the reason we have to ask that is we're trying to predict numbers of attendees. And we're kind of in a gray area so my Zoom will hold so many 100 individuals, which we possibly might have an attendance that goes beyond that. So then we have to request a webinar. We don't just have access to that. So we made our decision. We have the Zoom information that will be coming out very, very soon. And we'll be getting it out. But that is the reason why it's not out yet. But it's coming very, very soon. Question from Maggie, and that is the school going to be offering any international school trips? In the past, Cabin John Middle School did trips for the French classes to Montreal, Spanish classes to Costa Rica. Is Wootton thinking of organizing something similar? So Maggie, I do not have a sense that we are organizing something similar to that. Before moving to high school, I also was a middle school assistant principal at a school that took international trips just like this, specifically around world languages. So I do know what you're talking about. I have not heard any of our programs planning something similar to that. It is possible that a teacher wants to participate and develop something like that, but I haven't heard of any current plans. Just a little note as going through that process to get international trips approved specifically, right? It is a high hill to climb. So I imagine Cabin John has probably done the trips that you're referencing over time, and they've maybe done that for year after year after year. It really is something that requires months of planning just to get it through the MCPS approval. And then oftentimes I feel like these trips might also work with other organizations to help them organize their experience. So it would be something that would take planning on our end if we wanted to organize something, but I'm not aware of any plan at this time. Don't see any specific questions in the chat, but if anyone wants to hop off mute and ask a question, please feel free to do so.
Hi, this is Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, I was thinking it would be helpful maybe to share the MCPS improvements that are going to take place over the summertime this summer, and maybe what's coming next summer as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. Happy to do it. So a little background here, Wootton had received an appropriation of so many millions of dollars to support an ADA improvements around the facility and the grounds of the school. Bride and I had an opportunity. We were present for a presentation that happened in the media center. You might have seen a flow of information about the community meeting that was called to share that there will be some work that is done this summer at Wootton. A note about that. The work that is being done here at school will require the school to be closed. That doesn't mean that we won't have things taking place at Wootton, but parts of our school will be closed and we will not be a fully functioning like open school building. In the past, we've had loads of summer programs. We've had special ed come in for their summer programs. We've had trainings that have happened at the school. Those types of things cannot happen if your building is having this type of work. So certain things that will occur. There's going to be carpet that's brought up in the main office, painting around some common spaces such as the media center, the gymnasium, many of the hallways. We are going to have a bathroom upgrade. So the bathrooms near, well, I guess what we would consider the gymnasium bathrooms, that is going to kind of be knocked out and converted into a fully gender neutral like space and no doors. Like you can just walk in, sinks open, and private individual stalls for just one person to use. So we're getting kind of a new revisioned bathroom. It's not the only bathroom that's going to be improved. We are getting the auditorium bathrooms redone so that they are more ADA compliant and brought up to where they really need to be. We're going to have some ADA specific work in and around the doorways near SCB program. Right now, those doorways are kind of tight. They have a little bit of a lip, not easy for wheelchairs. Like all of that is going to be kind of tackled, and to get our students out, for example, if we need to evacuate, they're going to be working on some curbs. Like we know that if you are a student, for example, in a wheelchair and you come out of the main entrance of the school and you need to get to Frost, you have a very challenging path in front of you. I walk that often, and I know wheelchairs can't do it. So they're going to be tackling spaces like that where we have curbs and things, and individuals with in need of ADA accommodation, they can't move through that space. They're going to be working on that. And there's going to be upgrades to the auditorium, my understanding, where they're going to put in some additional ramps, remove some seats, give some lifts in place. For example, if you were a student that could not take stairs, you cannot get into the pit of our stage, they're going to be putting in improvements that are going to help in that regard. So we received the first wave of improvements. That's not the only thing that's going to happen. This is just phase one. There is an entire phase two that has been proposed for additional work. And the reason that we need a phase two, as shared with the team, Rockville City, excuse me, requires a pretty intensive process in order to get your permits for this type of work. And so they need to be doing that now for the next year so that they are set up to be approved to do additional work from there. So we are now in the midst of 2 years of improvement work to the school. And so that is good news because there are certainly some improvements we need here. Brian, anything you wanted to add based on what you had heard or shared?
No, I thought that was really good. I will add that we've met with, well, we talked to Mayor Ashton, City of Rockville Mayor, at the hearing before the Board of Education. She's very supportive. She will work with MCPS to ensure an expedited process with permitting, because it can take a long time. So So City of Rockville will help in moving things along.
Yeah, I'd really never met her. She did such a good job testifying, and I thought she did such a great job representing all her schools, so.
And she enjoyed meeting all of our Wooten students
True.
that were there testifying. So, and we did talk to, started talking to the Montgomery County Council Education Committee Chief of Staff, and she had also heard all of the testimony and was very impressed with all of our students. So we're gonna be having a meeting with her, I think next week.
Oh, wonderful, great. A question from Rebecca, which is, I'm curious if you've had a chance to review the 9th and 10th ELA curriculum that MCPS is piloting next year. Full disclosure, I have not had a chance to review that curriculum, but I'm very interested in, if you have any of that information. It has not specifically been shared with principals, so I would love to take a look at that. As again, prior life before Wooten, I used to train on the high school English curriculum, so I would love to see kind of what they are proposing for upgrades. What I would say is we are probably, I don't know if we, well, I would expect we are not a pilot school, otherwise I would have heard something there. But if that changes, I'll certainly keep you all posted.
I could add, they've piloted in 9 high schools this
Mhm.
year. It's
Oh, okay.
piloting at the rest. But it is actually, if you are trained in secondary ELA, it's definitely worth looking at. It's very concerning. I think there's you may be surprised to see sort of like the lower level. It's this is just my opinion, but I would definitely look at it and have deep conversations with the ELA department.
Rebecca, do you happen to know, is it consumable curriculum? Like, did they have it
Yeah.
published on the OSIP website? Or
They should, I think if you email Jackie Lightly or
Yes.
Keisha or Nikki, it's definitely, you can look at it since it is being piloted. And I think as a school and as a team, it will be interesting to look at some of the choices. It is homegrown. It has been, created, unlike elementary and middle school, which is a set curriculum purchased, developed by a curriculum, committee. This is not, and so it may be interesting just to look at as a school.
10-4, got it. Yeah, thank you for the recommendation, and I do know Jackie, so I'll reach out, see if she can
Awesome.
share with me.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'll go ahead and read from the chat from our wonderful Wooten PTSA. For senior parents, I want to plug that the PTSA will provide buses to DAR again this year. Please note that the school does not provide transportation for students. That is true. The buses are $25 for members and can be purchased, and there is a link embedded in the chat if you want to take a look at that. A little note also to build on this, there is a flyer with this specific information that has been developed. We will also be sharing that at the virtual and in-person meetings so that you have the information if you would like to take advantage of the buses that the PTSA provides.
If I can answer Ally's question, I apologize for probably not making that clear. What I meant to say, you can buy tickets for students on the PTSA buses, but there are no buses provided by MCPS to Dar Hall. So I just wanted to make sure, and it does have a note that says that as well on the purchase site, that you make sure that you buy a ticket for your student as well as the adults.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, and Ally, just a note, like we get an appropriation. I'll just share with everyone the appropriation for graduation. It really kind of happens in 3 ways. It begins with where you decide to have your event. So DAR, just so everyone is aware, it is your best fiscal option. It saves you the most amount of money hands down. But then when you take that, that also means you receive a specific appropriation where you've got to kind of do everything else. So you have to get your staff down there. You have to just kind of pay for so much AV, like just so much gets worked into it. And there just really isn't enough money to then cover for full out transportation for students to go down as well.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
But students can do it. We just have to pay. It's still easier than a bunch of students driving down there and parking.
Probably.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Question from Kimberly, which is, any updates on the renovation for Wooton? Sorry if it was already discussed. No worries. So the update currently, and I have the wonderful support of Brian here, so Brian, please chime in. Right now, our renovation is currently there were major cuts proposed by the county executive to the CIP. The CIP is the 3-year plan, which funds and oversees any renovation or construction process program in the system. And within those the cuts that are up to 300 million, Wooton's renovation scheduled to be done in 2029 is now recommended to move to TBD, to be determined, that is a recommendation to not keep us on the current track. And so that is a big update. Those are major implications for sure. So the update on the renovation is until it's finally, I guess, adopted by the county council. Right now, we're still in it as before, but it stands a chance to now change. Brian, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to that. So the CIP, the Capital Improvement Program, it covers 6-year period. 6-year period ends 2030. So we know that based on the cuts proposed by the county exec, that a whole lot of projects that fall within that period are going to be TBD. There's 2 scenarios that the Board of Education provided to the county council. Both scenarios delay Wooton's project beyond the current CIP, meaning they have to put TBD because the new CIP after that is not even, it's not developed yet. So there was a public hearing last week. We brought a huge number of Wooton students to testify and parents. Cold Spring is also on that list of schools to be delayed. And we made sure the Board of Education, the acting superintendent, is very much aware of our feelings on this issue. We have been working with the city of Rockville for quite some time. The mayor also testified for all schools in Rockville, and she really did highlight Wooton. And now there's no other public hearing. So the county council will be making a decision in May. And meanwhile, students from SGA are doing meetings with council members, and on the PTA side, we are meeting also with council members and trying to make sure that they're aware of our feelings around this and that we want to get this renovation done. And so we'll continue to do that and hopefully try to influence them before they vote. I would encourage everyone to write the Montgomery County Council and make your feelings known as well. And we'll send something out to that effect. But I think that we need to make it very clear to the council members so that they're hearing from us, and it'll make it harder, hopefully, for them to pick our project to be delayed after we've been waiting for so long. I did share in my testimony that Wooton's renovation was added to the CIP in the first time in 2009 for a completion date of 2018. And we've been continuously pushed back since that time. And now we just don't even know when it's going to be completed. That's a long time to be on the CIP to not get a renovation. And we're one of only a couple of high schools that have not had the full renovation. So, and other schools have jumped ahead of us. So that's, we did share that with the council as well. So write your council members and let them know how you feel about this.
Thank you so much, Brian. I appreciate it.
Brian, can you send out specific written language to everyone so that we could do it? Or is there something to populate that then goes to everyone? Or is it better to be individualized?
Yeah, well, I mean, individualized is always good rather than a template message, but we could give you some bullet points. And then maybe, because otherwise they're not going to pay attention if we just have a form letter and everybody's sending it. So, but I think we can get some bullet points together and send those out to everybody.
Great.
And as well as the email address for the council members.
And Brenda, I feel like that got to the heart of the question that you just asked for template bullet points, so on and so forth. Okay. Just checking the chat. I don't see any new questions currently. Are there any questions from the group in general that just want to share aloud? Brian, here's one from Brenda to you to ask the parents to write on behalf of this topic, maybe share in the PTSA newsletter.
Yeah, that's the perfect forum to share in. So I will do that. So I'll gather some talking points that we can share.
And Brenda, thank you for the suggestion. Kimberly says feeder schools as well. Those will be willing to come to Wootton. I will say, like Cold Spring, they had a really good showing with us, so I think they are very connected to this as well. But yes, perhaps spreading the word across other feeder schools within the Wootton cluster.
Yeah, thank you all, and we've been working with all of our cluster schools as well. All the PTA members and our Wootton cluster coordinators work across the cluster. So we are working across. We did get testimony from others from our other schools in our cluster. And it is impactful for everybody because everybody, all of our students are going to come through Wootton at some point, even if they have young kids now. So we do want to make sure we're engaging everyone. We are setting up a committee with parents that have different skill sets to really strategize around how we can best approach this and engage the media, engage our political leaders, and really put some pressure on. We saw several years ago, we had a student who did a really fantastic job, ended up on the Today Show through her great work, and it really put the pressure on MCPS, and I think that led to us getting the $15 million for these ADA improvements. So more to come.
Yes, thank you so much for engaging in this, and Brian, of course, for your careful leadership on it. As principal, it is very appreciated to have you supporting in this way. Elisa, quick question about freshmen and the schedule. It essentially will be a study hall experience if you are a freshman who comes on Wednesday and you just come on the bus. And I just want to say, we really want to welcome students that want to do that. We know breakfast, it's time for them to get some work done. They will be, though, in a study hall experience. That is correct. While the other students then are taking the SAT, which really requires the vast majority of our staff to be supporting in that testing experience.
Okay, so thank you so much for that. So just to clarify then, if your student has work to do, but they could do it at home, you're saying they can stay at home that day?
So I can't say that.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
So I have to say, like, yes, the school is, but I'm also going to say you're not wrong in the way you're describing things.
Okay, got it. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. And just a little for other families who might be new or individuals on a call like this. For high schools, just because there are some times where the testing that you have to do, it just is across your entire building. SAT, PSAT, these are two examples of the days where we have adjustments like this. We are also coming up in a period of time just to keep your antenna up. There are a couple of adjusted schedule days in and around spring testing as well, where you have what is called a delayed start, so that all 10th graders can be taking English 10, which is a required graduation test for the state of Maryland. That also happens at the exact same time as major AP testing days. So we look at the numbers and like make a very clear decision when we have an all hands on deck testing day. Essentially, there might be some days, and it's very specific to whether your child has a test or not. Their teachers are going to help keep them in the know, but I want you all to know as parents, it's just something you want to pay attention to. It doesn't happen every day, but there are some days that there will be adjusted schedules because of the number of testers we have throughout the month of May. Yeah, I'll ask this one aloud. I am assuming that you all maybe have your reaction buttons available. We noticed this is a pretty good turnout for an 8 a.m. coffee chat. If this is a preferable time for you, if this would be a better time to possibly hold coffee chats and not at 9 a.m., if you would just let me know in the chat or show me with a reaction button, I think it's worth kind of evaluating and seeing like, yeah, maybe the earlier start is a better time to do this. Thank you, Mia. And if you don't give me a reaction, that's okay. That's just communicating, yeah, 8 or 9 a.m. is okay for me. Okay. Okay. Got it. So yeah, there was interest, feels like about across half the group, so on and so forth. Okay, well, maybe I'll bring that back. We'll discuss a little bit with those that help me coordinate on the PTSA and we can talk it out a little bit. But it's good to know that for some of you, 8 a.m. is your better time and that it at least is an option and we can look at it. Okay, I'll go ahead and put out then a last call and just see if there's any other question or topic that those of you that are with me this morning would like to address. Awesome. Okay. Well, then once again, where I kind of started the meeting, I just want to say to everybody, I hope you have a wonderful spring break. And whether it's relaxing or whether you have a really great trip planned, please enjoy it. Take some downtime, enjoy a good book, do those things that bring you a lot of happiness, because we'll come back for a very busy April. And then, of course, May, so busy. So it's exciting to start to get to that point where it feels like we're getting to the end of the school year. But thank you all for joining me this morning so we can get some of that information out and for coming with questions so that they can be addressed. It's always really nice to spend this time with you all. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.